At this time, I will call to order the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for August 5th, 2024. First up, trustees, is the consent docket. Questions, comments, or action?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the SUA consent docket is approved. Next up is item 5A, presentation on a SCADA master plan to consider approval of a professional service agreement with Carollo.
Okay, good evening, trustees. My name is Chris Humes, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about an exciting project and to request your approval of the execution of a professional service agreement to develop a SCADA master plan. So I guess the first place I should probably start with is, what is SCADA? So SCADA is a supervisor.
Should have started with, how do you pronounce SCADA?
Yes, I wasn't going to call you out, Mayor, but
Thanks for the heads up, Chris.
So SCADA is supervisory control and data acquisition. So think of the computer in your car. So as you're driving down the road, the computer in your car is doing a lot of different things. It's keeping track of engine temperature and revolutions to tell you when to change the oil. It's when you apply the brakes, it's adjusting the anti-lock brakes, and then when you accelerate, it's adjusting the timing and air-fuel mixture control, so you have power. So we have a similar type computer that controls our water gathering, our wastewater treatment plant, and the water treatment plant where we clean up our water, and the distribution of it as well. So SCADA is a very broad term, so it's a lot of things. It's PLCs, it's the programs on those PLCs, it's the software, it's the fiber optic systems that all that data transforms.
All right, you need to define PLC for those of...
Thank you. Programmable.
You're welcome.
Programmable logic controller. So it's a computer. It's just a different name for a computer. So I realize this map is very busy, but and it's small. But what I want you to take away from it is all of those terms, all those little shapes around town, are places where there's at least one PLC, programmable logic controller. And on those PLCs, there's software that's running. And in a lot of these places, there's multiple PLCs. And so all that data goes through fiber optic cables or through radios to a centralized place, whether it's the wastewater treatment plant or it's the water treatment plant on the north side of town. And then at nights and weekends, all that data goes to one spot. So it's just want to make the point that SCADA is a very broad term and it encompasses a lot of things. So all of that is SCADA. So this is a picture of some of our SCADA assets in the city. This happens to be, the picture on the left happens to be the control room at the water treatment plant. It's called a HMI, or human machine interface. And so this is how our employees control all those PLCs around town. It's how they start and stop equipment. It's how they gather information to make decisions on how we clean up our water or how we manage the wastewater treatment plant. And then the picture on the right is some of that fiber optics infrastructure at the water treatment plant. That's how all the data comes into the water treatment plant and how all of it leaves and where it all comes to a central spot. So this infrastructure here was built in the early 2010s, and the infrastructure at the wastewater treatment plant is slightly older. And so we talked about the computer in your car a minute ago. So this is more like a Radio Shack computer. It's old, it's antiquated, it's unstable, and it's difficult to maintain. So if we were to approve the SCADA master plan, this is what a control room would look like when we're done with it. We implement the plan. So this would be what a new control room would look like, either at the water treatment plant or at the wastewater treatment plant.
This looks a lot more like the electric utility.
Yes. It would be very, very similar to that, and set up the same way, where you've got all the alarms are centralized, where all the information is, and it's just easier to manage data. So why should we care about SCADA? So there's a lot of reasons why we should care about SCADA. So one of them is water quality. So we know that we have some challenges out in distribution with water quality. With a robust SCADA system, we can address those water quality issues in an efficient way. We can reduce our load on our employees. So the operations at the wastewater treatment plant are operated remotely at the water treatment plant, so that can be done efficiently. We'll be able to see all the facilities across town, so we'll minimize call-outs because they'll see how things are operating, and it'll be more stable. Reports today, an operator writes down in pencil and paper or reading either out in the plant or on the screens there. They transfer that information over to another report, then it gets filled out, and that goes to regulatory agencies. Well, with SCADA, those can all be generated automatically. There's less opportunity for errors. It goes to the supervisor, they forward it on, and so it's just more efficient. So power consumption, if we decide we want to have an ESG plan someday and we want to operate our facilities more efficiently, SCADA can operate all the facilities more efficiently, so we use less electricity and have less emissions going to the atmosphere. We could have digital twins, so we know how the system's operating today with pressure and pressure loss, and we can have the theoretical model right next to it, and we can compare the two. And so if you see pressures that don't make sense, well then SCADA would help us ascertain, well, maybe there's a valve that was left open or a valve left closed, or maybe there's buildup in the pipe, and so we're always operating the system more efficiently. It'll help, we should always know how much water we're losing in the call pipeline or in distribution. Well, we can run daily reports to see how much we're losing both in distribution and the call line. We could run meter reports. So you could say that, yesterday we got we got measurement readings from 500 water meters yesterday, and today there's only 495. Well, then we would know that there's a couple we need to go out there and inspect so that we're not losing revenue and we're charging for all the water that we deliver. Reliability. So right now we're doing a process for a new ERP system for the city. Well, part of SCADA is a maintenance management software, and so part of SCADA is you can export information from our equipment into that, so you can generate work orders on when to go maintain a motor or a pump, and so our systems would be more reliable. We'd spend less on deferred maintenance and more on front-end maintenance, which is a much more efficient way to operate our assets. And then just KPIs. We can set up KPIs to show that we're getting more efficient and doing better. So we can generate, dollar per gallon of water made or whatever KPIs we have. We already talked about loss none accounted for and meter readings and those kinds of things. So if we bought into that vision, then we have to have a vision of where we want to be in the future. We have to know where we are today, and then everything else is the steps to get from point A to point B. So a SCADA master plan will develop a vision for what we want SCADA to look like in the future. We'll ascertain where we are today, so what infrastructure do we have in place today, and then we'll develop a plan to get there. So it's hardware and software. Right now we're doing 2 large projects at the water treatment plant, and so one of the things we can do today if we implement this plan is make decisions to standardize on hardware and software so that we're not always buying a different one each time, and we can get more efficient because all the PLCs will be the same. When one goes down, we can go grab another one off the shelf, plug it in, and only train our people on one software program and one set of hardware. We can establish priorities for implementing that plan. So once we come up with our vision, we'll know what it costs, and then we can set up a systematic 5-year plan or 6-year plan to get there. We'll develop templates and specifications for standards, and then develop a list of recommended SCADA system projects, and then document the overall plan in a SCADA master plan. So the financial funding will be 2/3 from the water fund, 1/3 from the wastewater fund, and we have funds available in both those funds to support this initiative. So any questions on a SCADA master plan?
Trustees.
So I told you I was going to have some questions. You answered some already, so good job on that. My knowledge of SCADA is a decade old, so I'm going to plead ignorance on it, but SCADA used to be just full of holes as far as cyber attacks. Has that been improved, and will this be included in the plan?
So this will be a very collaborative exercise. So we already had one meeting. I engaged IT. They are very interested in it. So today we are not connected to the internet, so it would be hard for somebody to hack it today. But in order to take advantage of a lot of these things we talked about, like exporting engine or motor hours into our maintenance management system, you have to be connected to the internet. And so it's not if, it's when. So we've involved IT. They're excited about it. They are a little nervous, but it's just something we have to do. And so is it full? If what we can do to make that better is one of the things I envision is being able to be at our desktop here in City Hall or from your phone you can see readings. Well, in order to do that, to make it safe, it's not, you couldn't make any controls or you couldn't change anything, but you can just see data. So there's things we can do to make it more robust and more secure.
Okay. And that'll be part of this plan?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. IT, Brad and Roy and those guys, Craig, have all been involved in the initial scoping meeting and kind of getting as part of bid, the bid for this. It includes cybersecurity and physical security as well.
So when I saw $600,000 for a master plan, I thought, that's a lot of money. Let's flash forward 180 days. This thing's done. You have it in hand. What's the implementation? Do you have the facility? Do you have the people? Do you have the funds to go ahead and begin implementation? Or my concern is I don't want to pay for a plan and have it sit on the shelf and become obsolete.
Right. No, fair concern. So a lot of one of the reasons that the cost is just ascertaining where we are today. We don't know the PLCs we have out there. We don't know a lot of the infrastructure out there. So we'll have to physically go out there and ascertain that. And we have to do that because we have to prioritize what needs to be done first, what can wait, what can be later. So that's a lot of the cost there is just gathering that information. And then it's putting the plan together, coming up with designs of what it would look like and where we want it to be. And so that's the dollars it costs. To implement that plan is probably going to be $8 to $10 million, depending on what we want to do. But that's why we'd have a stepwise plan of this is what we do in year 1, this is what we do in year 2, and year 3. But no, we cannot wait. Some of these decisions need to be made in the next year. So we're doing the finished water pump station and the chemicals projects. All of those have hardware and software associated. So I would rather be very systematic about how we make those decisions so that we don't make a decision we regret a year or 2 later and have to undo some of that. So some of it is dollars we're already going to spend anyways. Let's just be systematic and smart about how we're going to do that.
Well, technology is such a moving target anyway. I mean,
it is.
I thoroughly understand that, but let's try to, if we're going to do this, let's try to look ahead and jump one implementation away, jump one iteration away in advance, if at all possible.
And a lot of some of it's going to bring in more revenue, like the meter reports, like the daily meter reports for a stale meter reader out there. That's lost revenue, so that's more revenue coming in. Having the data take better care of our equipment, that's less money we're spending on capital projects. So some of it actually will save money. And it makes our folks more efficient as well.
So one more question, I'll let you go. We had a lot of water leaks on Sanger Road in the last week or so.
I heard.
Would this have detected that? Would that have been able to get quicker response to that situation?
Could. So what I envision is we would have different regions of the town. We'd have the northeast zone, which is a higher pressure, and the main zone. And so we would know lost and unaccounted for in all those zones. We'd know what's coming in and what's leaving. So those two numbers are never going to be exactly the same, what comes in versus what goes out. But water is not a compressible fluid, so we can get pretty accurate. We can get within a couple %. So if it's a big one, yes, we should be able to see those. But the smaller ones, no. That's we should always be mindful of what we're losing, and when we see changes, then we should get more curious about why is it changing.
So that was a geyser. That was not a dribble. That was a geyser.
Yeah, fair.
And would we have been able to figure out where it was and dispatch somebody to take a look at it, or have to wait on citizens to report?
Yeah, leak detection's you talked about SCADA changing a lot in the last 10 years. Leak detection has too. I mean, if we want to get really good at it, there's acoustic devices you can put on the pipe in different areas and you can hear them. And so there is pretty cool leak detection out there.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Chris, could you talk just a little bit about how you mentioned some of the improvements that we have slated and how it kind of comes with some of this maybe already as a part of it that we need to plan how to integrate those new systems. obviously we have a lot of plans for our water infrastructure right now. Can you talk a little bit about like how this will help us with that bigger, wider infrastructure plan? Is it, you know, kind of a Lego that we can piece together as we're funding different parts of the infrastructure? Will it allow us to incorporate all the different pieces as we have funding to
Yep.
pay for those pieces?
No, great question. So part of it's on the hardware side, on the PLC. So what I envision is if we're consistent on PLCs, then we only have to train our people to work on one PLC. We can have spare parts for that one, and so when they do fail, we can take another one off the shelf. And so part of it is just making decisions on where we want to standardize on hardware. And so if we can do that, then that makes us more reliable in the future and helps us be more efficient on making repairs when they go down. On the software side, it's standardizing on the software. So you're always going to be making changes to software, but we should standardize on how it's all organized. So today it's all piecemealed together. Some people don't always understand what was done 5 years ago on the program, so it's really haphazard. Some parts were deleted out, some parts were just left in there. So this would be a process of how do we upgrade software in the future, and then just being standardized so that we can do a better job of being trained on it, and we all know what's going on in there. And when things do fail, then what's the process for inhibiting alarms and how you handle equipment that's failed. And so hopefully that answered your
It seems a really important step as we are making these really large investments in our water infrastructure to have this as a tool in our toolbox.
Absolutely, yes.
And I would assume the plan has, when we have this plan, it will include an update schedule for the plan and an update schedule, an upgrade schedule for our systems, because it seems like sometimes we get in these where you show us pictures from 15 years ago and it doesn't look like we've done a whole lot in 15 years, right? And how do we keep up on top of these sorts of things so we're not kind of getting another 15 years out and going, oh, well, all that stuff's out of date, now we got to replace it all?
Yep, fair question. So it's coming up with overall the body of work and then what it costs, and then just working with Christy on what we can afford today and what we can afford in the next year and the next year, and then putting in a plan to get that implemented as quickly as possible. So it could be that it takes 5 years, it could be that it takes 4 or maybe 6. I will tell you there's some parts that need much more attention today, like the SCADA system out at the wastewater treatment plant and at the water treatment plant. Those have much higher needs than, say, like a lift station out around town. Those and so we do, it does adjust, it does lend itself to being a scalable or a stepwise process.
Okay. Further questions, trustees? I think you gave us a recommendation already.
You did. I can read that. Yes, staff recommendation. Motion to authorize the general manager to execute the PSA with Corollo. Authorize total project expenditures not to exceed $694,300, which includes 10% contingency, and approve the related budget amendment.
Trustees?
I move approval of staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Thank you.
With a vote of 5-0, that staff's recommendation is approved. Thank you, Chris. Item 6A is Resolution SUA 2024-6, a resolution of the Stillwater Utilities Authority authorizing implementation of a home energy audit pilot program for electric utility customers. Lauren Smith is here to tell us more about this one.
Good evening, trustees. Lauren Smith, Electric Utility Director. Stillwater Electric Utility is committing to finding innovative ways to support electric conservation and sustainability efforts in our community. Based on internal research, home energy audits are the most appealing incentive to customers. To gauge interest, staff is requesting to create a home energy audit pilot program. The Grand River Dam Authority has approved sponsorship funding of up to $15,000 for the pilot program. If approved, staff will work with a certified contractor to perform the service and will be billed $325 per inspection, which will pay for approximately 46 audits. Electric utility customers whose homes are 10 years or older are eligible to receive one free on-site home energy audit and will be scheduled on a first-come, first-come basis until the program funds are exhausted. Our customers will simply visit stillwaterok.gov/energy savings to sign up and schedule the audit with the contractor. The audit will involve a blower door test, inspection of insulation in the attic, evaluation of the HVAC system and ductwork, and inspection of the windows. The contractor will prepare a report for the customer, which will highlight areas of energy loss and recommend recommended solutions. Upon completion of the pilot program, staff will prepare a report that outlines the interest of the program, and staff recommendations will be brought back to the trustees. If approved tonight, we anticipate a launch date of next Monday, August 12th. And that's if everything goes fine. I don't see anything that shouldn't, but want to give ourselves a week. Don's expert staff have been setting up our website, and our expert staff have been working with the contractors, so everybody is moving forward.
And could you repeat that website one more time?
You bet. That's stillwaterok.gov/energy saving.
Thank you.
Be happy to answer any questions.
Trustees, questions?
Yeah, Lauren, I am delighted to see that we're going to pilot this program. 46 customers isn't a lot of customers. I expect this will probably all be gone pretty quickly. Do we have a follow-up plan if this is successful, how we're going to fund future?
We don't at this point. We want to evaluate how popular this is and then make some internal decisions, and we'll present a report back to you with maybe some recommendations at that time. So.
And this is for any home-based customer.
You
so
bet.
We don't care if it's owner-occupied or rental?
Correct, as long as they're a Stillwater Electric Utility customer.
Okay.
Yeah. And more than 10 years.
The
yeah.
home is older than 10 years.
Home is older than 10
All right.
years, yeah. And that's primarily because our research indicated that homes up to 10 years are typically still pretty tight. So we want to get the most bang for our buck here. So,
Okay.
and again, this is a pilot program. We can change things as we go along. So we really want to learn about the customers that are interested and see how we can make it better.
Okay.
So this will be totally first come, first serve. No indication of low income versus expensive home, just first come, first serve.
First come, first serve for the pilot, yes.
Mobile homes,
Mobile homes, yep.
okay. Just curiously, do we have funds available if somebody finds a glaring need for a low income family? Do we have funds available anywhere to help them actually implement these savings?
I will defer to someone.
I mean,
We have the,
Christy is shaking her head.
okay, so the website will have recommendations for folks if they need help with trying to fix some of the issues. What is the status of our home buyer assistance program? Has a portion of it that is also available for renovation funding for folks who need help with renovation. I don't know what the status is of that money.
Did we shift that funding over?
Well, that's correct.
Because nobody was using it?
Yes, every year we have money set aside in that budget. Unfortunately, that program is not as well utilized, and the first-time home buyer or the home buyer assistance program is more utilized, and so those funds often get shifted so that we can support more of those community members that need those funds. When you're needing to do a repair and having to do a second mortgage to make that repair happen, sometimes our citizens are able to find other resources in town, so they don't have to put that second mortgage on their home.
Understood.
Yep.
my impression though is so many times these findings are simple things like weather stripping and replacing broken windows and things like that. It's not tens of thousands of dollars, it's hundreds of dollars to really improve the situation.
Correct, and that's what our research indicated as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that would prohibit, I know we have a utility assistance program through, people can donate, pay extra on their utility bills, that could, some of that could be utilized for this, if there was a low-income need?
Perhaps.
Maybe something to look at.
Certainly
Yeah.
sounds like something we can talk about with the pilot. Like if
Yeah.
this goes, it would be interesting to see what comes out of this in terms of the reporting and,
You bet.
what people have to say about, well, gosh, you just told me I need $15,000 worth of repairs and I can't do that. And we can kind of figure out what the,
Correct, yeah. Again, that's what the whole pilot's for, is kind of see what information we get coming in and what we can do to navigate.
There are programs with the Department of Energy. I know a lot of the community action agencies across the state use Department of Energy funding for weatherization, particularly for low income. So it might be something for us to look at.
So shifting gears a little bit, question-wise, I see in the sample form I think that we got as part of this, there's one specific contractor that's going to handle going out and do these. Is that like going to be the case? Well, why is there just one? Is this a person that we know? Is this somebody that Grand River Dam has used before? Or how do we get one contractor on this?
So it's a local, it's a contractor that will actually come to Stillwater and perform these. We've actually borrowed some information from some surrounding utilities to see who they've used in the past, and this contractor comes very highly recommended. And
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Is this person going to be making recommendations for him to come back and make lots of expensive repairs to
No.
folks' homes?
no, I'm not aware of that at all.
Okay.
Right? He supplies a very detailed report, or this contractor does, to them for them to make changes. Yeah.
But not going back and saying, "Oh, I can do that for you." And here, I mean, I would. My concern would just be we don't want it for folks to feel like somebody's using the city's system here to kind of come out and sell them
Correct.
repairs to their house. So I hope we'll be keeping an eye on making sure that we don't have.
That's certainly not the
contractor
intent,
does that.
and we will certainly be keeping an eye on that.
Thank you. Trustees, any further questions? What's your recommendation for us? I guess your recommendation is that we approve the resolution, correct?
Yes, sir.
Trustees,
Just
Motion
Motion
to approve resolution SUA 2024-6.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, resolution SUA 2024-6 is approved. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. That's again, I think a great initiative to help folks figure out how to save some money on their electric bills. So I'm hopeful that'll be a positive thing. Any reports from the officers of the board? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
With a motion and a second to adjourn SUA, please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Stillwater Utilities Authority is adjourned.